Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for joining us for the Sunday edition of the Eyewitness Morning News. I'm Duke Carter. President Trump has changed his mind at the last minute about a deportation raid that was scheduled for today. The raid would have affected 10 big cities, including New Orleans. We'll have more on what fueled the decision change and Mayor Cantrell's response. But first, let's turn it over to weather expert Chris Franklin. Good morning, Christopher Franklin. It was just hot out there, really sweaty. It just felt like the sun was on my back, bro.
Or you want to, were you shirtless again?
No. This time we weren't shirtless, but you know what? It was just really hot, sweaty, and I was just like, I can't do this heat anymore.
Yeah, well, it's summertime, so you're going to have to deal with that for quite a while. It's going to be another hot day with extreme heat indices in the triple digits, just below guidance for a heat advisory once again, but that does not downplay the potential danger.
Thank you, Chris. President Trump delayed nationwide immigration raids that were scheduled for today in 10 major cities, including New Orleans. ICE had plans on arresting and deporting thousands of migrant families that had already received court-ordered removals. President Trump received backlash from House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. She calls the raids heartless and says the brutal action will tear families apart. Pelosi joins many other people, including New Orleans Mayor LaToya Cantrell. She wrote, "New Orleans is a welcoming city where fear-mongering and intolerance has no place. All of our residents matter, all of our families who help make us who we are, and the city of New Orleans will not turn our backs on any of them." Trump delayed the raids for another 2 weeks. He says if both parties cannot reach a solution, deportations will begin. Look now at a few other stories you need to know. If you like po' boys, get them while you can. Gene's Po' Boys will serve its last sandwich at the end of July. Eugene Gene Theriault, founder of the restaurant, made that announcement yesterday. According to Theriault, the two-story building was sold for much less than the asking price of $5 million. The current owner, Theriault's son, put the business up for sale back in February. Theriault says he urged his son to close up shop after customer traffic began to dwindle after Hurricane Katrina. The 51-year-old po' boy shop will be turned into condominiums. New Orleans is a destination city, but the price of living could turn people away. The National Low-Income Housing Coalition reports that the average resident needs to earn, get this, at least $19.38 an hour to rent a two-bedroom apartment in the city. That's a 23-cent increase from last year. The report also states that a minimum wage worker would have to work, get this, 108 hours a week to just afford the apartment. And this woman is charged with attempted murder after she allegedly fired a gun at several people, including a one-year-old toddler. 32-year-old Natalie Williams fired at 3 people in the parking lot of the Travel Centers of America in Slidell Saturday. When officers arrived, the victim said the woman tried to kill them after her fiance was let go from the company. Now, luckily, no one was hurt. Slidell police arrested Williams, who was hiding in the woods nearby. The spirit of Dr. John will live on throughout New Orleans. Yesterday, he was laid to rest, and thousands came to pay their respects to the late musical legend. Here's a look at his service from photojournalist Steve Wolfram.
When Mac Rabenac came along, millions of people around the world had already loved New Orleans. But then, Dr. John came along, and he made millions of people wish they were from New Orleans.
One of the things I loved about him most of all was his courage. Mac defied the powers that be that created a law that barred black and white musicians from playing music together in New Orleans.
A moving tribute. Well, switching gears a little bit, summertime means high heat in most places, but apparently Colorado didn't get that memo. Look at their weird weather after the break. And Chris, how we looking today?
Not that weird. It's going to be hot and humid again, but our rain chances are increasing. Details just ahead.
Welcome back. We've had our fair share of weird weather here in the city of New Orleans, but Colorado has experienced, get this, 3 seasons over the last few weeks. The state's seen sunshine, rain, and snowstorms this month. People looking to tour the area in a warmer climate were forced to adapt to the chilly temperatures.
We definitely could have been more prepared. We weren't expecting it to be nearly this cold, but we brought enough blankets and sleeping bags, and our body heat definitely helps.
Colorado got nearly 2 feet of snow on the first day of summer. So meteorologist, weather expert Chris Franklin is here. So Chris, how did that exactly happen when, it's supposed to be the hottest, longest day of the year, Friday, but then that happened and I'm like, I don't understand.
They're at far higher elevations up in the Rockies. You had cold fronts moving through, several upper disturbances bringing rainfall, but once that moisture gets into the higher elevations, it becomes snow. I mean, right now, Aspen, Colorado is 37 degrees.
Jesus.
Could you? We could only imagine. I would just take 60.
That'd be great. Can you make that work for us, though?
If I could, it would be.
Well, thank you, Chris.
If I could, it would be.
Thank you, Chris. When you dream about retirement, what does it look like? Does it include sailing on yachts or taking trips around the world and hanging out in luxurious pool cabanas? Sounds like a dream vacation. If so, well, you may need help from Leslie Sadowski with Biz New Orleans. She's here with 5 ways to fast-track your retirement savings and find investment vehicles that fit your goals and needs.
It's a tried and
You can read more about this topic and other local business stories and see Leslie's BizCast videos at bizneworleans.com. Well, coming up in sports, New Orleans' own St. Augustine High School graduate Leonard Fournette pays a visit to some high school players. We catch up with them in just a few minutes. Stick and stay.
Head arms out, hit it. I hit it, and ba-da.
Like headbands and leg warmers, this throwback is alive and kicking. You may remember her from the 80s. She's the founder of Jazzercise, Judy Shepard-Misted. She's still at it. This year, the pioneering fitness program Jazzercise turns 50, and it's never looked better. With 8,000 franchises worldwide and millions of followers, Misted had this to say to people who think of Jazzercise as a punchline instead of a real exercise.
I say, come try us. You'll find out. It's not anything like you think.
Today, Jazzercise is a family affair with Misted as CEO and her daughter, Shannon Nelson, as president. Bye-bye. Well, we have lots more coming up in the next half hour of the Eyewitness Morning News. If you recall, there was a doctored video of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi where she appeared under the influence. There could be a chance it might become difficult to spot the real video versus a fake one. And many people paid their final respects to the 4-year-old who went missing. We'll have more after the break. Good morning and welcome back to the second half hour of the Sunday edition of the Eyewitness Morning News. I am here with the weather expert, the Brother Martin alum, the man of many hats, meteorologist Chris Franklin, who's going to tell us how hot it is today because...
Thank you, Mr. St. Aug.
Appreciate that kindly.
No problem.
Because it's really hot out here. It's hot.
It is. It already feels like the 90s. It'll feel like the triple digits again, just below the criteria for a heat advisory.
Thank you, Chris. An ICE operation planned for at least 10 cities across the U.S. has been postponed. Last night, President Trump made the announcement on Twitter. Here's Tom Hansen with more. His 4-year-old, whose death shocked America, was laid to rest. Malia Davis was honored by hundreds at a private service yesterday. She was buried in a My Little Pony casket, and everyone wore something of her favorite color, pink. The 4-year-old went missing in May and was found dead nearly a month later in Arkansas. Mayor of Houston and other speakers say her death is prompting everyone to love and protect their kids and others.
Malia stood for love. Love has to conquer evil because her death was evil. Her death should not have happened.
Malia's alleged killer and stepfather, Darian Vince, admitted to dumping her body, and right now he remains in jail. Well, there's a mounting effort to unmask deep fakes. The altered videos shared widely on social networks are proving to be an extraordinary political weapon that are difficult to defuse. Here's Jonathan Vigliotti.
and then
Now look now at a few other stories you need to know. Apple is recalling some MacBook Pro laptops because of a fire safety risk. Apple says select 15-inch MacBook Pro laptops have batteries that might overheat. The affected laptops are an older design without the touch bar keyboard and were sold between September 2015 and February of 2017. Recalls related to overheating batteries are not uncommon in consumer electronics, and Apple says it will replace the battery free of charge. Investigators say the number is up to 11 people now dead after a skydiving plane went down on the island of Oahu. The plane went down shortly after taking off Friday night. The twin-engine plane burst into flames. Witnesses say they saw fire and smoke shoot 15 feet into the air. A government-controlled news agency says that President Donald Trump sent the North Korean leader Kim Jong-un a letter. The Korean Central News Agency reports Sunday that Kim said with satisfaction the letter is of excellent content. Nuclear talks between the U.S. and North Korea broke down after the failed summit between Kim and Trump in February in Vietnam. The U.S. is demanding that North Korea abandon its nuclear weapons entirely before international sanctions are lifted. Don't go away, we'll have much more after the break. Time now to get a look at the weather. It is hot out there. Time to probably get a snowball, maybe, something cool to keep yourself together before you pass out from this heat, because I felt it yesterday. Christopher Franklin.
Duke, you have a little glaze on your mouth.
Well,
I wonder where that came from.
Well, finally, you brought in donuts that I've been asking for the longest time. So I appreciate you doing that.
You are quite
this morning.
welcome.
The Brother Martin alum came through.
Before I could even get the donuts to the desk, you open up your big trap and say, look who didn't deliver again. Well, guess who did?
Finally came through. I appreciate it, Christopher Franklin.
Dozen glazed and donut holes.
It's cool. It's cool. I'll let you have it for now.
For now?
For now.
All right, let's see who delivers next weekend. Let's take a look at what's going on outside right now. It is hot.
This weekend, the NOLA Caribbean Festival is out at Central City Barbecue on South Rampart Street. The event features an international spread of food from many different vendors and music from Jamaica, Brazil, Cuba, Honduras, and many more tropical nations. Now, the festival opens back up today at 5 and wraps up at 10 o'clock this evening. You do have to pay a little bit of money. It's $10 to get in. Now, meteorologist Chris Franklin is here before we head out the door.
It'll feel like the tropics out there.
It's going to feel like the tropics?
Very much so, like the Caribbean.
Oh,
high temperature today of around 93 degrees, maybe an isolated shower or thunderstorm today. Heat index well into the triple digits again. We'll likely see that heat index come down through the week with increasing rain.
All righty, thank you, Chris. That's our news for today. We'll return back tonight at 5:30 and 10. Have a great one.